Now, I've been fortunate enough in my life to try barbecue from all over the country. I've had barbecue from California, the Carolinas, Kansas City, St. Louis, and everywhere in between. But I have always believed, and personally, this is my opinion, that Texas has some of the best barbecue that you will have. We've been doing a series where people would slide in my DMs and ask if I want to try their food. This isn't the first time I've had this restaurant. If you go back on my page to about 2 years ago, I actually tried this place in Houston called Heffernan's BBQ. Made a video back then and I raved about how good the food was. Now here's the strange or unexpected thing, and I'm not upset about this. This is a good thing. They messaged me back in April, and they said, do you want to try some more barbecue? And I said, hell to the yes. So I expected to get sent some barbecue. They had my information from before, and it just never happened. Lo and behold, about a couple of days ago, they sent me another message and said, hey, sorry about the delay of 6 months. And we sent the barbecue, so it's on its way. And it's here. So that's what I have today. We got barbecue from Texas, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be as good as the last time. Bunch of stuff I never tried before. I'm really excited to try this. They sent directions. They said 250, low and slow, for a half hour or until your heart's desire. I did about 45 minutes, made sure everything was wrapped up in foil so it stayed nice and juicy, which it did. And that is what is on the agenda. Big ass dino rib. I've got some brisket, some burnt ends, and some ribs. Their barbecue is pecan smoked, or you want to say pecan again, I don't care. That's what I said my whole life. Leave it be. But it's pecan smoked, and a lot of the stuff they do are things that I've never really had in barbecue. So I'm going to try this all today. Drop a thumbs up. You guys already know the vibes, and let's get into this video. I am not even going to waste time. We're going to the rib. This is a pastrami rib. So I'm going to guess it's a giant rib that they did in pickled similar to pastrami. So you can see this does look exactly like pastrami, and they added some nice deli mustard, because that does go with pastrami in here. But this rib is an absolute monster. I don't even know where to start with this. Let's do a juicy check though. Are we? Yeah, you gonna fall right off the bone. That works for me. All right, let's try this pastrami rib right here. Look at the marbling on this. Oh, this looks good. Yep, we're in. I fully intended to wear gloves, but once I saw the food, I was like, nah, we're not doing that. Look how juicy this is, though. Comes right off. Nice and fatty piece. We're going to go in for the deli mustard. Deli mustard and pastrami is a godsend. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what they were sending. I should have got bread. I'd have made a damn sandwich out of that. That's good. Nice fat cap on this. Oh boy. I like the fatty part on a pastrami, and this is no exception. I love adding the deli mustard to this because it just tastes like, to me, a really good pastrami. There is an element of that pecan smokiness that I'm getting in this that I wouldn't get from normal pastrami. It adds another note that I find to be quite pleasant, to be honest. Mustard just cuts through that fat that you get on this. This is excellent. Oh, that's good right there. This is dangerous. I'm glad they didn't give me any sides, because I'd have been crying tomorrow on the treadmill. But either way, if I lived down there, I would stop in and get barbecue all the time. One thing about New Jersey, they have some good barbecue, but it's very, very, very hard to find. I don't think you deal with that down there. So I don't know what this ranks some people that have eaten there before, but that is some really damn good barbecue. And I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. Like, it's hard for me to stop eating it. It comes right off the bone. Okay, one more piece. Just to make it even. Looks good. Oh, yeah, that's good. I've done a lot of other barbecue videos on this channel, and some of the places I've done in Kansas City, I'd put this right there with that, man. Like, legit. It is good. One of my favorite things is right here in the front. I only got 4 pieces. That means nobody's sharing this with me. Burnt ends. The burnt part of a brisket, the top part. Mostly popular in KC. Haven't had it in Texas, so this is actually my first time trying it from a Texas barbecue. There's that smoke ring. You cannot duplicate that, and it is very important. Let's go in with the barbecue. No, let's do first bite, no barbecue sauce. Let's do second bite with barbecue. You know what's missing? Barbecue sauce. But it's good. They sent a big container of their own barbecue sauce they have. Appreciate that. That's a different kind of barbecue sauce, and I mean that in a good way. A lot of barbecue sauce you get, especially outside of Texas, are really, really sweet. That's not. There is a brown sugar, but it's not like heavy molasses that you would get from other places. It goes really well with this nice, smoky, moist, delicious burn end. I think that's really good. In my opinion, though, the best burn ends I've had were from Kansas City. They do it better than anybody, but this is nice. I like this fatty piece right here. Nobody's getting this. And I like that barbecue sauce a lot. It's a lot thinner, but I think it complements that pecan smoke really well. The brisket, or the burn ends, I should say, we can get to the brisket. I would give that an 8 out of 10. Again, I've had better, but that by no means is anything to be mad at whatsoever. We also got some brisket here. It says moist brisket. Look at that brisket, bro. Texas does really, really good brisket. It's like what it's known for. We also got some pickled onions. I don't know what you eating these with, but I know I like pickled onions, so I'm just gonna grab me some. See what we're working with here. Yeah, I should have bought some bread. Everything I'm trying, I'm like, bro, if you put this in a sandwich, boy. But we're gonna spruce it up a little bit. I'm gonna go in the barbecue, and then nice amount of pickled onions. That combo, really good, really good. Again, the brisket is really tender. I almost went for a mustard. Hell, mustard could work. Y'all are spoiled in Texas, man. I don't get to have barbecue like this very often. That fat cap on the top right there. I don't even got a lot to say. It's good ass barbecue. If we do this nationwide food tour thing, I'm going right to Texas and I'm getting a ton of barbecue. This is some good brisket. Some of the better brisket I've had. I give that an 8.5 out of 10. It's good. And finally, we have some glazed spare ribs. That's what the description said. It didn't really tell me what it was glazed with, but I'm not sure. We'll find out here. Here's the top part. I love the way that like nice seasoning looks on top of the barbecue sauce, man. Yep. That's good. That is good. Oh. Let me see if it's got bite integrity. It does. When you bite ribs, to me, they should have bite integrity. What that means is you should be able to see my bite mark without the whole thing falling off. Some people prefer fall off the bone rib. I'm not telling you you're wrong, but when you're talking about like contestant type of barbecue, that's something that they look for, and that's something that I personally like as well. I have always been a believer that good barbecue doesn't need barbecue sauce. Doesn't mean you're not supposed to eat it. It means it's supposed to enhance the flavor, not carry it. It should be cooked well enough that I can just sit here and eat. Again, that varies for preference. It also varies for region. But when I want barbecue, this is what I'm looking for. Let's try to barbecue. Don't ask me why I just did that. That's nice. The glaze is very similar to the barbecue sauce. It's just added more of it to it. Overall, to me, I think this is some really, really good barbecue. It's some of the better barbecue I have ever eaten. Now, again, I haven't been able to have barbecue from all the famous places and stuff like that. Maybe we will get to that. I hope that I do. But as a person who doesn't have access to stuff like this was like a godsend. And I'm really glad that they remembered to send me this because I didn't think it was ever going to happen. And I am not mad at that at all. The ribs, again, I think are really good. I give them an 8.8 out of 10. The star of the show to me was this pastrami rib. Very different, and also flavors that I'm used to living in this area. We have a lot of good pastrami. And if you chop this up and put it in a damn sandwich, people would eat it. 100%. Even pastrami snobs, people that say you got to go to XYZ. This is just as good as that. College football Saturday for me is in full swing. We have the FCS playoffs. Some of my favorite football to watch, honestly. I've always liked playoff football. Now that the FBS has playoffs, it should be a good thing to watch too, but we haven't seen it yet. I've been a big fan of the FCS playoffs, well, since I participated in them up until now. Anyway, Story comes from college football, as it always does. NIL thing has completely changed college. On my level that I played in, which is the FCS, and on the FBS level. But what I want to talk about today with the transfer portal and stuff, this was the newest thing that I've seen in a long time. Marshall University, it's in West Virginia. Huntington's the name of the city, not that that matters. Their head coach left, and he went to a different school. Now, historically speaking, Marshall is a school that they have waves where they're really good. Randy Moss actually played at Marshall back when it was an FCS school. They made the jump to the FBS, which a lot of schools that I personally played against did the same thing. Western Kentucky has done it. Appalachian State has done it. James Madison have done it. It doesn't matter. Long story short, their coach sold their players a vision, which I'm not saying he didn't agree with. It's just what coaches do. When you get programs like this that are mid-major types of FCS schools, or FBS schools in this case, coaches tend to use them as a stepping stone. This is a weird one because he actually went to Southern Miss. They play in the same conference. Marshall won the conference, and Southern Miss was dead last. That's something I've never seen before. Not even a lateral move, but in this case, almost like a step above in terms of how good the team was. But from what I've read, the coach wanted certain things to happen within the school's budget and facilities, and Marshall was just unwilling to do them. So he said, you know what, F it, I'm out. He ended up signing a contract at Southern Miss. The problem with that, and I ran into this a bunch of times, believe it or not, I played for 4 different defensive coordinators in my career. It was very annoying when I was a player because I was like, I went to play for you, not necessarily the head coach. And the very next year, I have to basically start from scratch with, how coaches coach and their terminology and all this different stuff, which can be tough on a player. The transfer portal has completely obliterated that. So what happened in this case, which I'm actually happy it happened. The coach left Marshall, went to Southern Miss. Almost the entire team jumped in the portal. So many players jumped in the transfer portal to the point that they don't have enough players to field a team in their upcoming bowl game. They had to drop out of the bowl game, and Louisiana Tech has replaced them. So Marshall's out of a bowl game. And I know there's probably alumni and fans of Marshall that may not understand this. Something that has been really, really tough for college athletes over all these years is the amount of moving around that coaches do. When coaches come and sit on your couch, I was recruited. I had coaches come sit down, talk to my family. I went and visited their facilities. They sell you like a salesman. They're going to tell you their vision, where they envision you, where they envision the program the next 4 years while you're there, what they intend to do, the marketing. We're going to have this budget. We're building this locker room. We're building this. We're doing this to the field. We have a renovation on the field box. They do all of that stuff. I got sat and sold coaches' dreams like you wouldn't believe. And I understand that's a part of the game. When you're a coach, you want the best players, and you're going to try to do whatever you got to do to sell them. But as a player, once I sign that letter of intent and I enroll at that school, the coach bolts, and now you're stuck with a new staff. It could be an entirely new scheme. It could be a new way of coaching. You might have a coach that you really got along with replaced by an a-hole. It happens. It happened to me. And that was always super annoying. Back then, if you wanted to transfer to a different school, you only had 2 options. You could sit out a year. So if I went to Ohio State, for example, and the coach gets fired or the coach leaves, your options were to either transfer to a school. So if I'm at Ohio State and I said, okay, I'm going to transfer to Michigan, which would be insane, but it could happen. You had to sit out a year by NCAA rules before. So as a freshman, I would have to say I used my redshirt year, which very possible. You don't have a year to waste anymore. So by the time I get back on the field, I'm a junior. And that sucks because, again, I went to play for this coach. He left. I don't have a say in that. And I didn't really have anything to do. Or, which was more popular in my era, players from bigger schools would transfer down to an FCS school. So my school, for example, we had transfers from USC, Notre Dame, Illinois. You get the idea. Oklahoma. A lot of big-time players at those schools either fell out with the coach or something happened and they end up at my school, which really increased our talent pool. You're seeing the opposite now. You're seeing FCS players that do really well transfer up. For example, Cam Ward, people are familiar with him. I just watched Incarnate Word play, which is a school that plays in the FCS now. They didn't back then, but they moved up. Cam Ward wasn't recruited by anybody out of high school. He got 1 scholarship offer, barbecue sauce on my shirt, doesn't matter, to Incarnate Word. Incarnate Word, he balled out there. He ended up transferring in a portal, and so he goes from Incarnate Word to Washington State. Balls out at Washington State, has a good year for them. The Pac-12 gets disbanded. Can't really do anything about that as a player. The only 2 schools left in the Pac-2 now are Washington and Oregon State. So what you saw was Cam Ward say, okay, well, I'm going to go in the NFL draft. But instead, because of these new rules, he was a junior. He was allowed to transfer, ends up at Miami, and has a really good year. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman tonight, but he was a Heisman candidate and a front runner for most of the year. Back then, none of this stuff was possible, and the way coaches play musical chairs, Rich Rodriguez is another example of this. Rich Rodriguez is a coach that was at another school that I played against in Jacksonville State. He ends up going back home. He was a West Virginia coach way back then to West Virginia. All those Jacksonville State players, they got sold to Rich Rodriguez saying, hey, I'm going to build a program here. Now they're left out in the dust. You don't know who the hell is coming in. You don't know what type of offense or defense they run. So a lot of those guys, I'm going to guess, are going to transfer or jump in the portal in the same way. I know some people only see the negative side of the portal where, you know, a guy just kind of dips out and he's like, you know, there was a kid at UNLV that was promised money from UNLV and they didn't give it to him. So after like the third game of the season, he was like, I'm out. I'm hopping in the portal. Another guy, I think from Oklahoma, did the same thing. He jumped in the portal in the middle of the year because they didn't want to waste his year of eligibility. Now, I get people not liking the players having that kind of power. And anytime there's rules, they're going to be manipulated. You know that. But this is the other side of the portal and the game that I think is a really good thing. Because again, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I probably would have jumped in the portal. I'm glad that I didn't, but being an emotional ass kid, I was really pissed off when my coaches left. One of my coaches, my defensive coordinator, actually left and went to a school in the same conference and took the same job. Now, I'm sure he had his reasons that I think I know now, but as a player, he was my favorite coach. He was the guy that I committed to play for. I had to see him on the other sideline the very next year. So he was there as a junior. We go to the national championship. He dips. Now I got a brand new coach, brand new defensive coordinator. He was actually replaced by a coach named Chris Kleiman, who actually now is the head coach at Kansas State. But I like Coach K. I didn't have a problem with it. But again, that uncertainty kind of sucks, and you don't know how you're going to end up. So I remember the very next year we played Missouri State on homecoming, beat the shit out of them. And I saw him in the tunnel after the game, and I was kind of mad. I remember him saying something to me like, hey, what's up? And I was like, yo. And I kind of walked off. I don't know if that was the most mature thing to do at the time, but as a player, you were upset. You know, he didn't owe me an explanation. He had to do what was best for him and his family, of course. But again, to just think about a 19-year-old kid on his own for the first time and having to transfer, and now you're just on your. So I'm not mad at the kids from Marshall for doing that. I know there's probably some people going, oh, that's crap. But again, they were sold something by a coach. The coach had to do what was best for him. And they're going to do what's best for them, take their opportunities. I completely understand a player saying, I got to do the same. So I saw that article and I was like, man, I got to talk about that because I know a lot of people, I was reading the comments, they were all pissed off. And I was like, yeah, I really don't get it from a player perspective, why things like the portal exist. Again, there's some bad portal stuff. I don't think, you know, jumping in the portal because you're not getting your PT in the middle of a year. Like Jalen Hurts, to me, he finished the season out and then he dipped. And I just, as a player, that's something that I would have done too. People don't know Jalen Hurts, the quarterback of the Eagles. He was at Bama and in the national championship game as a guy who was SEC freshman of the year, barely lost. I think he was 24-2 as a starter or something along those lines. Really good record. Gets replaced in the Natty by a guy named Tua Tagovailoa, who ends up obviously being Tua. He was just as great player. Saban made the change. Bama comes back and beats Georgia, and Jalen Hurts loses his spot. And he sat for an entire season after that. And the funny part was, Tua actually went down the very next year. Hurts came in, did his job, and then at the end of the year, said, okay, left, went to Oklahoma. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's the right way to do it, but I do understand the players and how that stuff goes. So I just wanted to say it from a former player, just kind of like how the portal has good things and bad things, and that's what I want to talk about today. I know I yapped for a long time, but I thought this is a really cool thing. That's going to be the end of the video. This barbecue is excellent. I don't know if I'm going to give this away, to be honest. We might just be going keto today. Which will be the end of the video. We'll be back, more content. Minute Hands-Ons. They made it to YouTube.